Without further ado, I'm going to introduce our two guest speakers today, Karen Vaughn, Gold Star mother, Jason Redman, retired Navy SEAL, and we're going to talk about Memorial Day. Memorial Day and what it means to you. Uh, Karen as a Gold Star mother, Jason Redman as a Navy SEAL, over 2 decades as a Navy SEAL. And it has different meanings to different people. Some of us may think of it as a long weekend, others, it goes deeper than that. So, Karen, Jason, I am just going to give you the floor because as Jake said, it it's really nothing I can say without turning it over to you. Tell us about what Memorial Day means to you, what you would want those of us who have not lost friends that we honor on this day. But what has it changed for you, Karen? I know at one point you said Veterans Day used to mean one thing and it means something different. So I'll go to you first, Karen.
Okay, yeah. It's a great point, Louise, and I'm glad you asked me that because yes, I mean my son was a Navy SEAL for 9 years. It died in his fifth combat deployment overseas. And I can tell you that until we got a call on August 6th, 2011, we never stopped to contemplate what Memorial Day actually meant. It was sales, it was barbecues, it was, family get-togethers. And we had just never as a family, and I'm ashamed to say that, but we had never stopped to actually consider what Memorial Day meant. Of course, our first Memorial Day after Aaron died was uh, unthinkable because all of a sudden the meaning of that day hit home and our reverence for that day. And Louise says this all the time. 364 days a year we celebrate veterans. There's only one day a year that's set aside to remember those who have gone on before us and died, fighting for our freedom. And so that first Memorial Day that we spent after Aaron had given his life, not lost it, after he had given his life in Afghanistan, we just began like contemplating freedom differently. We began contemplating America differently. We began contemplating our role in America differently. We realized that Aaron had fought and died kinetically for freedom, and that the least we could do is to continue fighting for the freedom he died for culturally. And so that's why I'm on this call today. That's why I travel around the country and talk about the cost of freedom. I think Americans have a really easy time disassociating themselves from the cost of freedom. I say this all the time, even talking about law enforcement officers who've lost their life, firefighters who've lost their life. The numbers are staggering, but few of us are connected to it because it's such a small percentage. There's such a small percentage of the people in this country who take care of the mass percentage of the people in this country. And so most of us just aren't really personally affected by it. On August 2011, I became personally affected by the cost of freedom. And it radically changed my life, as you can imagine, in a billion ways. And I stand in honor every time I get to talk about Aaron's life, every time I get to, just address what people have given for this country. It is a great honor to be able to do that. And my message, if I don't get to, we're going to talk a lot about other things, but if I don't get to say one other thing, I want to say this. Yes, Memorial Day weekend is great for sales. It's great for, family get-togethers. And Jason will agree with me after all the friends he's buried. I know he'll agree with this statement because we've had this conversation. We don't want you to feel sorry for us. We don't want pity. We don't want any of that. What we want you to do is just stop and contemplate the tremendous cost that has been paid to give us the freedom to celebrate weekends like this together. And I want you to have so much fun that you can barely stand it. And I want you to do it all in honor of those who died to provide that fun for you.
And I can't think of anyone who loves fun more than Karen Vaughn.
No, I love fun.
And you know what? I think your son must have been a lot like you. When you talk
Well,
about
my
Aaron,
family says that.
he loved fun.
Yep.
Jason, I'm going to go over to you. Did your view of Memorial Day change after you joined the military?
Yeah, 1,000%. And I grew up in a military family. I mean, my great uncle was shot down in the Pacific in World War II and died. I have the letter from President Roosevelt. Thank you for your sacrifice that hangs on my wall. But it wasn't real yet. I think that's the reality. When you don't know these people, when you don't live with these people, we often talk about sacrifice. Karen nailed it. She said, "Hey, so often in this country we take for granted the gifts we have." Many of you that have listened to me speak, I've come to recognize that freedom's kind of like air. You just breathe it in and you don't really think about it. Nobody wakes up in the morning and goes, "Oh my God, I can breathe this morning. It's so great." It just is there. And freedom's the same way. But when you've been around the world and you've seen places where they don't have freedom and they would give anything, that's why so many people want to come to the United States of America because they understand the power of freedom and opportunity. But with that comes a tremendous price. Individuals who have fought since the beginning of our country to preserve it and have sacrificed for it. And so it wasn't until I started losing friends and I would see their flag draped casket as either we brought them home on an honor flight or we buried them. And that's when it becomes very real. And that's really what Memorial Day is about. That being said, um, it's a recognition of that sacrifice and to understand and to be thankful for this amazing country we live in, filled with freedom and opportunity. So many people make these choices to be incredible. Fairway Mortgage has made a choice to make an impact, and what they do through the American Warrior Initiative and how I'm involved in that is amazing because there are so many companies that make big profits and all they do is focus on keeping that profit or distributing it to the leadership or whoever it is. And with over $6 million that AWI has put out, that's such an amazing example of choice that was built on the sacrifice of incredible people. So recognizing that on Memorial Day is probably one of the greatest gifts you can do. And associating that and educating the people around you to understand, hey, we should have fun. We should love this day. By all means, man, go buy a new grill. Go buy a new car. I don't care what it is, enjoy those Memorial Day sales, but please start your day with your family and identify. Maybe it's within your own family. Maybe it's a friend. If you don't know anybody that's ever sacrificed in the military, just Google, military heroes who have fallen in combat. If that's too much, open up the Navy SEAL Foundation website and all of my brothers that I served alongside that have passed over the years are on that website. And take a moment and look them up. You can look up and like Aaron, you will see his biography, the amazing life he lived in this incredible family and this, aspiration to become a Navy SEAL when many people told me would never do it because of the injuries he sustained in football. And they said, "You'll never make it." And he made it and went on to serve at our highest command before he made that sacrifice. So that's all I ask. Understand that there were people who were fathers and mothers and husbands and sons and daughters who sacrificed for your freedom. Um, so think about that and then go have fun and honor them. Because there's no doubt in my mind that all my brothers that are up in heaven, my best friend, they're standing in the armies of heaven. They would never want us to be sad and sit around and feel sorry for ourselves for that sacrifice. They'd be like, "Hey, remember me, honor our freedom, and now go party."
I understand that, Jason. Now, you honored many of your friends with some tattoos, did you not?
I did. I've probably attended over 50 memorials and funerals for friends since 9/11. We're over at least 100. I will be honest, I don't know the exact numbers right now as the years have gone by. But I've attended at least 50 memorials and funerals. And one day I wrote down after I lost my best friend in 22. I wrote down all the guys that I personally knew, like I served with, I went through school with, I did operations with, I was friends with, I hung out with them. And there were, out of the 50 memorials and funerals, there were 30 that I personally knew. And I just thought about, man, that's so much sacrifice and it's so much amazing lives. And I tattooed them on the inside of my arm, all those names as a reminder to myself, like, hey man, like live greatly. Those guys would give anything. There's no doubt in my mind. Aaron would be, if he was here, he would say, I wish I still had the opportunity to live this great life. But Karen and Billy are such a testament to that. You guys built a life of purpose around Aaron to honor him with Operation 300 and with AWI and all the things you're doing. And I honestly think that's how we honor those who have lost. That's how we honor their sacrifice. We become the best version of ourselves and remember them. And I hope and pray that my buddies. I knew Aaron. I hope he looks down and says, "Hey man, Jason Redman, you're doing it right." He says, "Mom, you're doing it right. Keep doing this." And that's how I remember.
I didn't realize till I did a podcast with you two last year, and that you were part of the memorial, right, Karen? Share with those who are listening and the recording that comes later what you discovered later.
Yeah. So when Aaron died, he died in the largest one-day loss of life in the history of naval special warfare. 30 Americans were killed in the shoot down of a helicopter with a call sign called Extortion 17. So there were 17 Navy SEALs on board and 5 more men on board who worked exclusively with SEAL Team 6. So they were part of that community. So, you had 22 people who died out of one community one day. And so there were tons of memorials that went on, lots of things that they, brought the families alongside of. But the biggest one was when all 22 of those men were honored in Virginia Beach for a huge memorial service. And like that was something that was, I don't know how to say it. Jason probably knows far more than I do what it was, but I'll tell you from my recollection, right? I remember they put us in buses and we started driving down roads. And long before we got to the convention center, we started seeing sailors alongside both rows standing in salute to the buses that were coming by. There were hundreds of them. I don't even know how many. And then we get in there and there's just this massive celebration of life with pictures of all of the fallen off of Extortion 17 and little pictures of them with their wives and with their children and the place was just there had to be, I don't know, Jason, thousands of people there. It was crazy. They had reserved seats in the center for the families. They kept us in a buffet room before where we were given food and drinks and things like that, and then they brought us in and we filled up the whole center. Because the loss was so large, the families of those men filled up the entire center section of the building, and it was massive. So a couple years later, I meet Jason Redman for the first time through another nonprofit that we were both speaking on behalf of at that time, and I found out that he was one of the primary people who organized that memorial service in Virginia Beach. So it had long been something that was so precious to me that they went that far out. And now Jason's become one of my dearest friends. And, I find out that he was responsible for that. So God bless you, Jason, for honoring and loving on the ones who lost their lives, even and especially through all the struggles that you have endured yourself. And I know you want no pity and no, that is not who you are. You are like forward, 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 get off the X. I know. But I just want to say, we all recognize what you were overcoming as you did those things for your brothers, and we honor and love you for it.
Jason, you said it a while ago, a community. So Navy SEALs are a community. Am I correct? You're a tribe. You're one. Is that
We
right?
call it the brotherhood. I mean, we obviously have sisters in our brotherhood, but it has always been the brotherhood, an amazing community, and we've done our best to try and take care of not only our SEAL brothers, but all the families that extend, and any member of our community, whether they were incredible support, who all play this incredible role that makes our community into what it is.
So you lost 22 of your community in one day. Now, I want the Fairway Nation, I want the real estate partners to think about this. I want those of you who are listening to think about this. The Fairway Nation, we're a tribe. I mean, we're a brother and sisterhood. I'm just going to say that. And Jason, you've kind of picked that up from traveling. Karen, you know that. That we're like, I say if you cut one arm, I bleed red, white, and blue, but if you cut the other, I'm going to bleed green. Um, you so the Fairway Nation, you think about losing 22 of your tribe, of your nation, of your brother and sisterhood. Jason, I'm sure that's hard to articulate. I can't imagine. Would you want to share just some of that?
Yeah, it was such a shock. I actually was on vacation with my family down in Florida when I got the page that this had happened. And I told Erica, we got to go home. And I went home. The command was in full emergency mode. I worked in operations, so it was one of our key jobs to manage big things like this. It came off the heels of obviously a high back in May. We had taken out Osama bin Laden, and now this happened, and there were massive security concerns. How do we manage this? And originally the plan was we needed to do it on base. We could manage it better, but it just continued to grow. The outpouring of support across the community and the nation. We had people from everywhere reaching out, and really within the military and government world saying, oh my God, we were friends with these people or these people, or we did operations with these guys and this and that. And it just continued to grow. Karen, the Navy, the multiple ships and commands reached out to us and said, we just want to be there. We just want to be there and line the streets. We want to be in uniform to honor this loss. Government agencies reached out as we were like, man, we're going to have to move this. By the way, Karen, it was 6,000 people. That's how
Wow.
many people were there that we had to manage a complex security problem because this was now a civilian facility. So we were coordinating across FBI and many government law enforcement agencies on how we manage that security. I mean, if Karen, you remember, we had to bring everybody in through metal detectors. We had to scan the building for bombs and lockdown blocks at Virginia Beach to pull this off. But the outpouring of support and just to do this, and it was the right thing to do, 100%. I mean, to honor that magnitude of loss and to bring so many people together who wanted to remember and mourn and honor and love these individuals. And I'll tell you, and Karen will remember this. One of the fellow SEALs that I'm friends with was from Boston, and the Boston Pipe and Drum Band, the police and fire, who are world renowned. These are guys that go all over the world and do pipe and drum, the bagpipes and these drums. And they said, "Hey, we want to come down and honor your guys." And we had to coordinate all this. And I remember. They were behind the bleachers, the way we had the room set up, and they were behind the bleachers. But when we started that ceremony, and they started the drums and the bagpipes, I can't explain it. I felt it in my soul. It was so powerful. It reverberated throughout the entire crowd, and it was a powerful event, and I'm honored to have been a part of it. I think I'd like to think we did it right, and we did it right for the families and for our brothers.
I'd like to tell you guys a little story if I could.
Sure, Karen.
So we found out that Aaron had died at 8:30 a.m. on Saturday morning, August 6th, 2011. He had actually in America, he had died on Friday night, but Afghanistan is 7.5, 8.5 hours ahead of us or something. But Anyway, so we found out at 8:30 in the morning that he had given his life. I keep correcting that, that he was on the chopper and there were no survivors. And so we had to make a journey to Washington, D.C., where his widow and two babies were. He had a son who was not quite two and a daughter who was 9 weeks old that morning. And it'll always get me when I tell this story. So you can imagine we were just in this whirlwind. My husband was actually 3,500 miles away from home on that morning, so he had to take a red eye and got home on Sunday morning. And so as a family, we went to the airport and we all got on flights to DC to be with his wife and children. And so when we got on that plane, um, I was sitting by a window, and of course, no one on the plane knows who you are or why you're on that plane. I was sitting by a window, and I remember I'm sorry if I get emotional. Anytime I remember this, it makes me very emotional. I put my face on the edge of the window and I started looking out, and we're just flying over the country. And I just kept thinking, down there are people in those houses that have no idea what happened. And that all these men just gave their lives for them. They just don't. And for the first time, I was allowed to have like privacy and solitude, and I just lost it. And I just started weeping, like sobbing tears, right? Like my shoulders shaking. And my son-in-law was an aisle across. The stewardess had come up and asked him if I was okay, and asked my husband if I was okay, and my son-in-law grabbed her and he explained what was going on. And so at that point, people started rushing us. The stewardess started spreading around what had happened, I guess, and people started coming up to us and giving us notes and giving us hugs and kneeling in the aisle beside us and praying over us. This is America. This is how we behave. This is how we understand and honor tremendous loss on our behalf. And then when we landed, the pilot came over the speaker and he said, he said that there's a family on board whose son was just killed in Afghanistan, and they're going to be with the rest of the family. Could everybody remain seated while they exit the plane? And they all did. Not a soul got up. And the pilot came back and got us and escorted our entire family off the plane. They had a cart waiting for us. The ones with two sides, we all got on it and they took us to the pilot's lounge. And I remember as we're driving to the pilot's lounge, I see this great big, there's people walking alongside us. All the airline people are beside us, like protecting us. It was just an amazing act of love. And I remember looking over and I saw this newsstand and it was full of newspapers, and my son's face was on the front page of all. And I said, that's my son. And you just would have thought that every one of those people around me were like family members, like long lost cousins and loved ones. They just loved on me and prayed over me. And I just want to tell you, that is why no matter what happens in this country, I will always believe that the spirit of the people of this nation is goodness. It is kindness, it is goodness, it is love and respect. And I say all the time, if you believe America's best days are behind you, turn your dang television off, because that's not who we are. We are the people on that flight to Washington, D.C. that day. That's who we are.
Okay, Jason, follow that.
Hang on, I got a bunch of awesomeness leaking out.
You're so beautiful when you have awesomeness leaking out, Jason.
Such a pretty man.
He is the one of the he is
It's all
the
that.
he's
It's
one
all
of the
that.
prettiest men I know.
It's all that plastic surgery. Compliment to the U.S. taxpayer, by the
Yeah.
way. Um, I don't know. I guess all I'll say is this. Um, all across America this weekend, the story Karen told, there's, um, we lost 50,000 in Vietnam. We lost, I'm not sure, I think it's hundreds in the first Desert Storm. And then we lost over 7,000. But beyond that, the impact of war continues. Suicide is an epidemic, and I truly believe that that is service connected because of the impact of this war. But the bottom line is, all across this country, there are thousands. I don't know, maybe 100,000 Karen Vaughns and Jason Redmans who mourn our friends that we lost. Um, it's hard to believe. I leave here this afternoon after I speak and head to Texas because it's June 28th will be the 20-year anniversary for Operation Red Wings, which was the first helicopter crash, which was my troop. I had friends on that helicopter. So we have an event. Many of us who were involved in that mission will be in Texas this weekend. So I would just say, like we go full circle. In the beginning, Memorial Day, when I was young, I didn't understand what it meant. Even though I had a member of my family that had died, I just didn't understand it. My family, I don't think they did as good a job of educating. My kids know, they understand. There's no doubt Karen's family knows. I mean, you guys are fortunate enough to be part of an amazing company. What Jake has built and what Wheezy has led the way on with the American Warrior Initiative that recognize the freedom and opportunity and the gift of the American dream has been paid for by sacrifice. And on Memorial Day, there'll be a lot of people who will shed a tear for those we lost. But once again, I'm also going to raise a glass, man. And I'm going to remember the good times and the memories I had and the amazing people they were that all of us, we had a choice. We knew what we were doing. We knew we went because there are evil people in this world. I mean, I hate to tell you, we can't hand out teddy bears and hug our way to peace. There are evil people who unfortunately don't like us and they don't like our way of life. And thankfully, there are men like Aaron Vaughn and other teammates of mine and who was willing to step up and say, you know what, send me, I'll go fight. That's what makes this country into what it is. So this weekend, just raise a glass, think of them, find a name, any name, read their story, recognize they gave you the freedom you have, and that's what this weekend represents.
Amen.
I want to mention Dave Shaw's, who's has been one of the amazing partners of Fairway for many, many years. And Dave Shaw lost his brother in Vietnam, along with 50,000 plus others. There's so many people that are on this call that you lost people. As Jason said, as the suicide rate goes up, it's a casualty of war. And people do not look at it that way, but I agree with Jason on that. Is there anything else that Karen or Jason's message and Karen's messages is we go around America, and you real estate agents that are on here, you've heard it, and the Fairway Nation, you've heard it. But Karen's is the cost of freedom. And Jason, you talk about we're Americans, it's what we do, and about we have choices on how to handle whatever comes up in our life. We have a choice, and I'm just so thankful um, that there are people still stepping up and hearing that voice saying, and they say, "Here I am, send me." And they're still saying that to this day, and I am thankful. I am going to give a shout out to a nonprofit that two nonprofits. Number one, Karen Vaughn, Operation 300, that several people in this company donate to, because guess what? Those who have lost their lives, most of them left children. I mean, they were young men and young women. And Karen Vaughn has the amazing nonprofit that honors the children and help, not just honors them, but brings them in, has a fun time. Karen, you want to tell the group what's happening at the Indy 500 this weekend?
So be on the lookout for a red, white, and blue car that says Operation 300 across it in honor of SOC Aaron Vaughn. They're driving a car this weekend in his honor. They have the whole season. Tanner Gray is driving the car, but an amazing tribute to him. Operation 300, we host adventure camps for children who lost a parent during the war. And whether it's to suicide or death in action, it doesn't matter to us. They lost their dad or their mom, and they come to our camps. And our motto is, if they go home and their clothes are salvageable, we didn't do our job.
That's good, Karen. And Jason, another nonprofit that I'm going to give a shout out to is the Navy SEAL Foundation. And Jason, Karen just shared, if everyone looks behind Karen and sees the bouquet of flowers. Karen, Jason, tell us about the Navy SEAL Foundation. I know you and our the guy who's running our Department of Defense. Uh, you
Pete.
swam, Pete Hegseth. You swam with Pete, and you were swimming. Tell us about that and what the money was raised for, and what does the Navy SEAL Foundation do?
Yeah, the SEAL Foundation is focused on obviously taking care of the legacy and the families of our SEAL community. Not just Navy SEALs, but within the SEAL community, we also have amazing. We get some of the best of the United States Navy who come to the SEAL teams, and they're communicators and dive experts and intel experts and analysts. And the SEAL Foundation takes care of all of them. Our special warfare combatant crewmen and their families. And it is amazing. They're one of the best organizations out there. They receive the highest awards for financial transparency and managing their money every year. They took care of me when I was wounded. They sent money to try and help us because we were having to bring family in to take care of the kids and all these things. And they continue to do that. They have programs for everything from mental health to transition support to helping our Gold Star family members. And there's all kinds of events across the country they do. I just went to the Dallas dinner a few weeks ago, but one of the big fun events they do is the New York Navy SEAL Swim. If any of you are ever in New York, the second or third week of August. We have to time it around the tides, but it's a big swim. If any of you on here are big into fitness, we'd love to have you. It's open to anyone. You do have to qualify. It's a 3.5 mile swim, 3 miles of running with an American flag, 300 push-ups, and 66 pull-ups. And we finish at ground zero. If you don't want to, if you're like, oh my God, what are you talking about? You're nuts. If you don't want to do the physical aspect, just come to see the finish. When people line ground zero as we run in, we finish at the Afghanistan horse statue soldier, and we finish our push-ups and pull-ups, and then we have amazing speakers who talk about it. And all the money raised obviously goes back to the foundation to support our SEAL brothers and families. And yes, Pete Hegseth has swam it twice. He told me he's not swimming this year.
Oh.
Yeah, that's a pretty big
Well, let
security
me just say this. I'm
challenge.
I'm not that fit, so I'm going to have Bill Murphy swim for me. Okay, what about you, Carrie and Karen? You want Bill Murphy to come and swim for you, or
Well,
maybe Ryan Welch? He can
I'm
do it.
going to do a virtual swim.
We'll
That's the
get, we'll
kind
get,
I love.
well, Karen, you
But
need
I'm
to
going to
come. They
virtually
have,
swim and virtually do my push-ups and all of it. But I'll be in
well,
New York for Jason.
we have the Gold Star boats. We have the Gold Star families that come and they get to ride on these yachts and like heckle us as we're swimming.
Okay, then that's
So yeah,
my first year to go, so I can't wait now. That's
yeah.
good.
But
I'll virtually
watch it on
go.
Fox. Watch it on Fox News in the morning this year. I'm pretty sure it's August 16th. Let me double check. That is the Saturday. But Will Kane, if any of you guys like Will Kane on Fox, Will's actually a great swimmer. He was a high school swimmer and an awesome guy. So I just was with Will in Dallas a couple weeks ago, and he will be swimming again. And Fox will be there to cover it and feature it and show Will swimming.
Well, I wanted to end on that positive note. You can see that these two individuals here are truly the epitome of patriotism and the honoring of those who have given their lives, but not in a sad, feel sorry way. And that is one of the things we want to end the call with, is that we are Americans. And those that are on this call, I know that you're patriots. And do one thing. Do one thing. If you can't think of anything to donate to, Operation 300, the SEAL Foundation, those are great nonprofits that do so much. That's where Karen's flowers came from right there. So that's pretty awesome. Jake, did anybody on the executive team have anything that they'd like to, as we close, do you have anything you'd want to share?
Uh,
Or
we could read Angie Alvera's message here. I'm sure Trista Stretch, John, who I see, would echo Mike May what Angie said, which is what an amazing call. She has a branch to go to, but thank you, Karen, Jason, Wheezy, for your mission of love for our veterans. And with what was said today, there's no other words. You folks were amazing and are amazing, and
well,
we're just blessed to know you. So.
yes, we are blessed to know you. Any final words, Jason, Karen, and before we end?
I would just say, hey, thank you. There was a lot of people who wrote messages thanking us, obviously, Karen, for your sacrifice and uh, all of it. So I just want to say thank you for all the love that was sent on the call.
And I just want to say thank you too for all the love, all those beautiful messages. I've been reading them as you put them through here, and thank you for being part of what makes this country so great.
Thank you all for joining the call. God bless you. God bless you, Jason and Karen, and God bless America. Thank you.